Welcome to the next episode of Discipline, Desire, and Dedication. My name is Dakota Lang, co-host Garrett Cotton. Second episode of the day with Mr. Tommy Sigman, bro. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, bro. Super stoked. How was your flight in?
It was nice. It was pretty good. I was saying before, I've never gone to a flight and not had to do the baggage claim. It felt weird just going straight to the terminal pretty much and coming right back.
Though. Yeah, just get off that plane and roll.
What time did you leave this morning?
I went to sleep around midnight, and I had to wake up around 2:30. So I woke up at 2:30, had some coffee, left around 3:30, got to the airport around 4:30, and then we left, got here, landed around 8.
Heck yeah.
Early
And you
morning.
flying back this evening, too.
Flying back this evening, so we're on it. We're not wasting any time.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Well, hey, let's jump right into it, dude. Kind of just, give a brief description about yourself, where you're from, and let's just start from your childhood.
Okay, let's do it. So I got into real estate. My journey was a little bit differently. So with me growing up as a kid, I actually pretty much grew up through the foster care system. Mm-hmm. So I grew up with my mom, and it was my mom and my little brother, and we grew up just moving everywhere. We were not really from any specific city. I mean, I'd say New Orleans is where I would consider myself from, but we moved all over. We moved to Mississippi, Texas, Washington, Florida, Kentucky, Alabama, I think. So we lived all over just moving. And when I was about 14, I was put in the foster care system. My mom and my dad both kind of had some personal issues in their lives and weren't really fit at the time for me to be there. So I was put in foster care, bounced around a few foster families, moved different foster homes, all the things. And then when I was about 15, I published a book about growing up in the foster care system and about how to use adversity and pain and how to leverage it as this drive and fuel within you to become successful. Because I just saw every foster kid that went through the system ended up, you get on drugs, you become homeless, you go to prison, and that is every foster kid's story. So
talk about your childhood a little bit. I know you're saying that y'all moved, you and your mom, and do you have siblings?
You have a little brother.
A little brother, okay. And is your little brother with you as y'all are moving across the country in all these different states?
Mm-hmm. So it was the three of us. We were just moving around.
And is that kind of is it like job hopping, or is it just trying to find somewhere to live?
Trying to survive, really, just trying to stay afloat. It was just tough for my mom growing up. She was a single parent, and she had me, and I was her second kid. I have an older brother, but I don't really know him very well. He got put up for adoption when I was little, but she grew up through the foster care system.
Your mom?
Yeah, my mom did. It was kind of a generational cycle going on.
Okay.
So she grew up through foster care. So she was just always trying to figure out how to take care of two kids, how to survive on her own. So it was just survival, really. We were just moving, trying to, stay afloat, trying to find somewhere to be. It was maybe we'd move with a different boyfriend or move, for an opportunity for work for her. So never really one specific reason. Like when I tell people that, people say, oh, military. Mm-hmm. No, we were just trying to stay somewhere, trying to stay alive.
Mm-hmm. And so you go through that, and then you said you were 15,
mm-hmm.
and what was the start of the journey when you were 15? You were, let's backtrack,
mm-hmm.
right? How in the world was your schooling growing up, right? Because if you're changing all these locations, was it more of like, you were just doing homeschooled, or pretty much you were just trying to get in school when you could?
Pretty much. It was a little bit of both, actually. There was a few years where I was homeschooled, but primarily it was just I would go into a school, I would enroll in that school, be there for 6 months, 8 months, a year at max, and then it would jump into a new school and restart, make new friends, and I think I went to about 14 schools by the time I was 13.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So but I think it built up a lot of good social skills. It built up a sense of, you got to go meet people, you got to go make connections, or you're going to sit by yourself, and people already have their friend groups and are established, so you have to just go and be approachable and go talk to them. So I think it built some good character. So I'm thankful for it looking back, but as a kid, it was hard because you make friends and then you have to pick it up and move. Yeah.
Yeah, constantly moving. So you say in around 15 is where did you end up at?
So 15, I was in a foster family. I was in the second foster family I was with. And I actually went through a breakup with this girl, and she broke my heart. And I was so down bad. I was so depressed that I couldn't sleep. I was like, I could feel myself not being who I wanted to be and thinking, man, I can do more. And so that was kind of the start of my self-development transformation process of deciding who do I want to be and become, and I'm going to become that person. And step one of that was I've always wanted to write a book. That was always something deep down I wanted to do and act on. I just never did it. And I thought, man, I'm going through this. I can't sleep. I'm depressed. What a better concept to write about, and something I know about, than adversity and growing up in a difficult environment or just having difficult circumstances as a whole, and write a book for other people going through that and other foster kids. So I wrote the book in about 3 weeks. Most people, they say, oh, I've been writing my book for the last 2 years now. I knocked it out in 3 weeks. It was over Thanksgiving break that I stayed up all night, just knocked it out, and then I had it published about 6 months later.
Huh.
That's crazy.
And how old are you now?
Now I just turned 21.
Just turned 21. Heck
Yep.
yeah, dude. That's a lot that's happened for sure. Talk about, because a lot of people, I mean, me personally, I've never been in the foster system. Kind of talk about, what that process is like, right? Mm-hmm. So you were with your mom for a long period of time. What was that transition like, or as much as you can remember, as far as like, did she just come up to you and say, hey, this is what's going to happen, or we're going to have to go into the system, or how did that process work?
So it was a lot different for me. I had a very unique case compared to almost anybody else. Most people, their parents, the state comes in and takes them because the situation they're living in is so bad, they have to get out. Mm-hmm. And by the way, for the state to take you out of a home, it has to be extreme. They will not take you out unless it's extreme. People have this perception that the state will come in and take your kids. No, if the state takes your kids, they had to, because they almost do anything they can not to leave you there, because the state has no families, no placements to bring you. So it's extreme. But my case was not that. My case, my mom just said, hey, there's too much going on. I'm not in a position of life to take care of you. You have to go find somewhere else to go, essentially. And now we actually have a pretty good relationship. We actually talk, and I still give honor to her as my mother. I don't want to, blame her. She was just trying to figure out her way. She was young and had a kid as well. So, but she basically said, hey, this is not a good fitting time for me. And I'll say, me moving through different families and my transitions, the state made it 1,000 times harder. The state is not on your side as a foster kid. They do not help you. They're not a resource for you. You see all these foster advocates that want to uplift DCFS and uplift the state and focus on the things that they do right. They don't want to speak against it because they know that the state has all the power. I think I'm probably the only foster care advocate that will say 99% of the problems that happen is because the state is completely incompetent and they ruin children's lives. Like, children are murdered because the level of incompetence that the state has. Mm-hmm. And I've always been pretty vocal about it, that it's a mess. It's a crap show.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Kind of talk about your experience. So when you get put into this, you have the conversation with your mom. Mm-hmm. How old were you?
I was 12 or 13.
Yeah, so that's insanely young, right? Mm-hmm. When you get, there's that's probably almost even hard to process, at that age. Like, okay, what's known, right?
Yeah.
The unknown is there. You don't know where you're going. It's not like you can kind of pick your family. It's kind of like and from the way I'm interpreting it, is that the state chooses your family, mm-hmm. right? So what was that process whenever you had that conversation to whenever the state got involved?
So for me, what happened with my case specifically is my mom, I actually went to my mom and said, when we decided that I can't stay with her, I said, hey, I have a buddy, because I was living in Louisiana. I was living in Denham Springs, going to Live Oak, and I moved to Florida to go live with my mom. And when she said, hey, you can't stay here, I said, okay, well, can I go move back to Louisiana with my buddy? And my buddy's grandparents paid for a plane ticket. So I was 13, 14. I think I was 13 at the time, in 7th grade. And I just said, can you just bring me to the airport? So she brought me to the airport. We kind of said our goodbyes from there. She dropped me off, and then I went and got on a plane, came to Louisiana at 13. I was supposed to stay there for a week and then go move in with a family member. But during that week, the family member I was supposed to move in with assaulted somebody and went to prison.
Oh, gosh.
So I was just stuck here. It was supposed to be a little temporary, you're here for the meantime until you move. And now I'm like, hey, I'm just here. So I was there for 8 months. And then the lady I was staying with said, hey, this was supposed to be temporary. And she was a single mom with 2 boys. And she said, this is hard financially on me. This is not really what I was expecting. If you have another family member, let's figure out a plan for you to go with somebody else. But I didn't have another family member. So that's when the state got involved. And that's when I had a case opened and I was officially put in foster care. And a social worker came, I talked to a social worker, and that first conversation was when I realized what the state's about. Because the state, they send a social worker over to you, and it's a lady seems like she doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to be talking to you, feels like she has to, and then she's basically asking you, hey, can we put you back in with your mom or dad? And I'm saying, hey, my dad's in prison at the moment, or he's living at a hotel right now, and my mom I can't live there.
Yeah.
And they're saying, okay, well, we're going to contact them and we're going to try to put you back. And I'm like, well, you're not helping me. Why are you helping? Like,
they don't listen. They're just telling.
Well, their goal is to put you back. That's the goal. The goal is not to find you a family. The goal is to put you back with your parents.
Are the social workers in the foster industry, or did they go through the system, or are these just random people?
Random people.
Okay,
Yeah,
so they don't even know what it's like to be in that situation that you were in.
No, so, I mean, some do, but most of the people involved in the system have no idea. And the issue, too, with social workers is because they see the worst of the worst every single day, they become numb. There's even a term for it within the state, I can't remember, but it's basically the term describes the fact that they all know they become numb. I was in one family, and I said, hey, I can't be here. This is miserable. And she said, well, are you dying? I said, no. She said, well, it doesn't matter to us. That's straight up. Because their goal is to put you back with your family or make sure you stay alive.
And one question I have is, how do they come up with these families? Do people volunteer to take on foster kids, or like, how does that process work?
So typically, yes. Typically, somebody has to go become a foster parent. The issue is as soon as they realize they become a foster parent, they discover this is not what I was expecting, that this process is awful. Because they take in a kid, and they may fall in love with that kid. They're going to give the kid a beautiful home, all the things. And most foster parents, they fall in love with this child and give their heart, and they make this big commitment to this kid. And then the state comes and says, hey, we're going to put this kid back with the mom because the mom just got out of prison. And it breaks the parent's heart, and they say, we're never doing that again.
Yeah,
and
I could see that.
There's almost no foster families. Like, we have 400 kids currently in Livingston Parish in foster care.
Dang.
And there's kids that are staying and living in office buildings.
Really?
Because there's no placement for them. I never went with a random family. I always found my placement. So I had a unique case. Mm-hmm. I moved in with my teacher as my first placement. And then after that, I moved in with my buddy and then another buddy. Mm-hmm. So I always kind of navigated my case, and I would find the family and then get that family to become a foster parent.
Oh, okay.
But most kids, especially young kids, can't do that, and they don't know how to do that. Yeah. So they just get thrown wherever the state decides to put them that day.
Yeah, what'd you talk about? I know you said that you were in one spot and you were like, dude, this is miserable. Mm-hmm. Like, can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, it was just, I have a good relationship with any family I've ever lived with. It was just hard at that time because as a kid, you grew up, especially if you go into foster care, I grew up with, when I was staying with my dad for a few years before I was put into the system, I had complete freedom. I was 13, taking care of myself. I would go to school.
You had to because nobody else was taking care of you, right?
Yeah, you have to. So, and I was, I basically was an adult by 13. So then I moved in with the family. Super great family, super loving, but they didn't know what to expect with me. And they were like, this guy is moving in. He's almost a grown man. I mean, he's, about to be an adult in a few years, and he thinks he is an adult, thinks he runs the place, and these are our rules, our household, and it wasn't a good fit. And they had very small kids. They didn't really know how to parent teenagers, so it was a learning curve for everybody. Mm-hmm. For me to figure out how to accept my role as being a kid, and them to also say, well, he had his own freedoms his whole life, and now we can't just close a curtain on that. But they're great people. And actually, because I moved in with that family, I became a Christian and I found God. I was an atheist, like a Sam Harris believing hardcore atheist, mm-hmm. and he was a pastor. So because I moved in with them, I ended up becoming a Christian. It took about a year for that to happen. So I'm super thankful and loving towards them. But yeah, it was tough for a good bit for me there.
I'd love to hear it. So I could only imagine, coming in and like having that belief as an atheist into a preacher's home.
Oh man, first day there. They say, hey, we're going to sit around the table, we're going to put our hands out, and we're singing Jesus Loves Me. Mm. And I'm like, no, we're not. This is not what are we doing? And I quickly made the decision, like, the way they live their life is not how I'm going to live my life. And my heart was so hard, and I was fully believing Christianity is ridiculous. These people are silly. They're goofy. This is not what I'm about. They think they believe in some sky daddy. That's not what I believe in at all. And I think from over time, me living there, especially with the breakup and all the things that happened, my heart just began to soften. And then one day we were at church, and I had to go to church 3 times a week or so with them because he was a pastor.
Yeah, got to.
So his thought was, he views me as you're basically my child, and because you're my child, me as a pastor, I'm heavily involved, and our family is involved with this church, so you will be as a byproduct as well. Mm-hmm. So if it came to sports, social activities, or church, 3 times a week it was church. Mm-hmm. So I was there at church all the time, not believing. I'm like sitting during work, like everyone's up at worship praising. I'm sitting there, cold, waiting for it to be over, waiting to leave to go play video games or whatever I wanted to do. Would
you ever say you were a bad kid?
No, I don't think I was a bad kid. I think the only thing my heart was hardened on was towards God.
Yeah.
I never was, I quickly as a kid, I realized I had to take care of myself. No one was going to come save me. So I always try to make an effort to be on top of my stuff and do a good job taking care of myself. So I never really got into like partying or got reckless.
That's good though.
It was just the Christianity. That was the only thing that took me a while to really come to.
And I'm assuming mom and dad had like no like, are they atheists as well?
I don't know what they are.
They just kind of
still figuring it out.
It was just never talked about.
Yeah, church was never a thing growing up for me. Mm-hmm. So then I went from never going to church to moving in with this family, going 3 times a week, not believing. Mm-hmm. And then Christianity is so new to me. I'm hearing about Jesus and these stories. And as every atheist thinks, you think that you are logically more intelligent than the Christian. You think, oh, they believe in books from 2,000 years ago, and they're believing in these folk tales, and you hear about these miracles. Why don't you see the miracles today? Mm-hmm. And that was and I would listen to these atheists on YouTube, and that was always my thought process, that I am intellectually more intelligent than this family, and that's why they believe this, and I can see the truth. And I really feel like it was a miracle that God softened my heart. Mm-hmm. One day the pastor said, hey, if you believe, raise your hand. Or if you want to know Jesus, raise your hand. And something in me, like I was totally atheist, something in me just said, man, why not? Let me try. I raised my hand. And then that night I prayed. I said, God, if you're real, reveal yourself to me. I want to see that you're real. And my thought was, I don't believe in what I'm praying to, but maybe why not? This won't hurt anything. Yeah. So I made that prayer, and the next day I had so much anger, so much anxiety. Like I had all these emotions because of what I went through, and I'm living in this family in anger. Yeah. I prayed that prayer. The next day I woke up, felt at peace. And I was like, that is something that you can't logically explain. Like you can't intellectually debate that, argue that. I made that prayer last night, and I woke up, all the anger I felt, gone.
And the Bible says, ask and you shall receive.
And that was my confirmation. I'm like, and then I think I got baptized a week later. I'm like, this is legit. So
that's amazing. That's a great story in itself. We've had situations. So for our recruiting processes, we let people come and live with us for 2 months, in a sense, kind of like a foster. They don't pay rent. We pay for their gym membership. We pay for all their food. I'll fill your car up with gas. Like you are my child for 2 months, where I can show you how to do this job. We go to church. We pray at dinner.
That's awesome.
It's a very similar situation. And we've even had people, a guy that's in this office currently, that he came in and I worked with him at Chili's before I got here. So, we knew each other from work, but when I recruited him for the job, he got in my house, and then it came to light that he was an atheist.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? I've got an atheist in my house? Like, this is crazy. But I didn't change my way. Mm-hmm. I didn't change. I'm not trying to tend to him. I'm like, I don't want to make you feel comfortable with God. I'm going to live my life in God. And if it opens the light to you, then that's amazing. But I'm not going to force God onto him.
Yeah.
And by going through that 2-month period, I'll catch him saying things, and he's just straight up just does not believe, right? And I'll catch him saying things in side conversations, and he was like, he'll say something about like, this is part of God's plan for you.
Wow.
And I believe, and we've never had the conversation, but I like to believe that by just continuing to show my belief, it's opened his eyes to where he's starting to.
That's amazing, right
there.
But
that alone is incredible. I could only imagine the hardships that the pastor was going through, like what he was feeling about bringing in this young kid. because it's at a turning point in your life too. Because
Mm-hmm.
only 13 years old moving in.
Yeah, I think I was 15 at the time.
15.
Yeah, because
You were probably a little
I was
harder.
there for 2 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. But it just surprises me because like I always think of like maybe just bad kids or something like that. But you're well put together. And I mean, it's just amazing. That's a great testimony.
Thank you. Well, I really feel too, a lot of people ask me, because the stats of foster kids, if you go through foster care, there's almost a 99% chance you will end up being on drugs, prison, or homeless by 25.
Yeah.
You do not see foster kids come out and build a good life for themselves. And the ones that do don't advocate for foster kids because they say, hey, I grew up in that, but I'm going to be out of that world and never look back. So you don't see them go back to try to help foster kids. And people ask me, why do you think you went through foster care and you went through that and you turned out, well with the mindset that you have? And I truly just believe, I feel as if God ordained, had his hand over my life. I can't describe it. The way that I, lived with my mom, lived with my dad, then was moved in, the way that things coordinated and worked themselves out for me to move with that pastor, for me and that girl to go through that breakup, to then have my heart be softened, to then meet the mentor in real estate that I met that helped me get to the point of learning business and money and sales and all the things to elevate my life past that point. It all felt so coordinated that I really can't describe. I think God just had his hand over my life. And there were multiple times where I would almost step out the faith, not really walk out the faith consciously, but I would just walk away to a point where I would just be out of the church, not pray, and then I would just have somebody come to me and be like, man, God just weighs on my heart that you need this. And it's so specific, so spot on that I'm thinking, man, this, I need to go back into it. God is calling me that I need to get back to him. And that's happened so many times that I just feel truly as if God has his hand orchestrating my life to be where I'm at now.
Yeah, he's got a plan. We just got to follow it. That's the truth. So, as far as high school, did you graduate high school?
I did. I went to Live Oak High School. I know that's in Louisiana. Dakota knows more about that.
I'm from Walker, Louisiana.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I graduated 2015 from Walker. So Dakota, we met each other at Southeastern.
Oh, so I didn't realize you were from Louisiana also. Okay, so you know where Live Oak is.
Yeah, I know Live Oak. You probably know the Crofassis and stuff, huh?
That sounds so familiar. I graduated 22 though. I'm a young guy.
Oh, so. Luke Crofassi is probably the one that you would know. Luke is the youngest of the four. Do you know Miss Robin Crofassi? She's a teacher at Live Oak.
I don't think so.
No. Yeah, well, that's a lot of our friend groups and stuff too. So small world because just a little bit age right behind us.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. What about college? Did you attempt college?
So I had a weird situation in college. I was planning on going to college. So part of the deal when you go up through foster care is you have a full ride. Any school you get accepted into in Louisiana, FAFSA pays for as part of your college degree. I mean your scholarship. And also I had a senator. There was a Louisiana senator that offered me his scholarship. Every senator is able to give out 2 scholarships a year. That gives you a full ride to Tulane and Northwestern. So I had I would have got paid to go to Tulane. And that was my plan, to go to Tulane or go to Northwestern and get paid to go. But I couldn't bring myself to do it because I couldn't help but think it was a waste of time. And what's funny is I was planning on going just because I thought, well, I have this full ride, so I should utilize it and I should go. And then I went and met these other guys that were 4 years older than me that were in real estate. We were all interns in this commercial real estate brokerage. We were all in the same spot. We all knew nothing. We all were starting at ground zero. It was my senior year. They just graduated LSU and from business or finance. And I would ask them, so what'd you guys get out of going to college? What was the value? Oh, nothing, but you got to go check it out. You got to go. Okay, well, how are you farther in real estate now? What do you know that's going to give you a advantage that I don't have when I get licensed? Well, not much, but it's the experience. And I thought, I'm not wasting time. I can't do it. I want to go learn the skills. I want to start building my career, building the brand. And college just seems like too much of a distraction for what I really want. And most distractions appear in the form of opportunities. A big distraction is viewed as an opportunity that you should pursue. But when you think about what you really want and really desire and you ask yourself, does this bring me to where I desire to be? Or do I just think I should take this because it's an opportunity? And that's what college seemed like to me. So I just said, I'm not going to go waste the time. I'm just going to go start making money. And I got a mentor, and he's changed my life. So I'm thankful. And he was the one too that told me, why are you going to go to college? Well, it's free, and I think I should. Yeah, to do what? And I'm like, you're right. So I unenrolled. I was going to do Northwestern. I unenrolled and just got my license instead.
I wish I would have thought like that. My mindset was so different. But I grew up in a very Christian household. My parents were together my whole life. Went to school. They told me to go get a job. My dad's a carpenter. My mom's a nurse, so they made decent money. That kind of stuff. And it was just like the normal upbringing, right? So nothing crazy. But I feel like because of the way you were brought up, it's allowed you to start thinking like an adult so much sooner and thinking about your future so much sooner. And that's like, how many 18-year-olds do we talk to that we try and convince, don't go. But I've always said, go for the experience. If you want an experience. For me, it just bought me time.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I think that was the key, is that I knew what I wanted. I always knew I wanted to get into real estate. I was listening to Grant Cardone when I was 14, moving families, and I knew awesome. Real estate was the goal. I just didn't know what the path to get there looked like. And I knew you don't need to go to college for it. Mm-hmm. I knew everyone that was in business and finance in college knew nothing about business or finance. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, everyone around me told me that's a bad idea. You need to go. You have a full ride to Tulane. You need to take advantage of it. Yep. And what's funny now is just about everyone has told me you made the right decision.
100%.
Everyone that told me I should have went, because I didn't waste the time. I didn't just stay home and not work. I got to it. Mm-hmm. They now say, because of your position in real estate and what you do now, that you made the right choice. Mm-hmm. So
that's crazy.
What so talk about that process, right? Obviously, you're looking at the 2-lane route, and then you're still into somebody else's home, right? You're not living on your own yet. So this is on your senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. Okay. When did you write the book?
When I was 15, my sophomore year of high school.
Sophomore year of high school. Okay. Well, let's get back to the book, right? Okay. What was your thought process, right, that just intrigued you to go, look, I need to write a book and bring light to my story? Like, what was that thought process? Was it because you were in school with all these other people and wanted, them to see who you really were? Was that kind of what your message was, is you were just trying to let people know who Tommy Sigman is?
I think it was multiple things. One thing that was a big factor was I quickly saw that everyone that was put in foster care came out and was destroyed by it. I realized that there was nobody, there was no voice, no advocate, no book, no coach, no mentor for people going through intense adversity to then give them a guide on, this is how you use this and you build the life you want. So I knew that there was a need in the market for it, and that it would help millions of people. So and the book sold tens of thousands of copies, and the book has been given to every kid within foster care multiple years. It was bought up by schools. North Corbin Middle School bought all the copies for their 8th graders, and I've had so many kids reach out to me from that said, hey man, like, nobody knows this, but I'm living with my grandma because my parents are in prison, and your book really gave me some good perspective. And I knew that there was nothing out there for those people that were going through it, especially people that were going through it silently. When a kid is living at his parents' house and his dad's beating up his mom, or he's living with a family member, getting ready to move to a new family member's house because his parents got rid of him, they'll go to school and you'll never know. Mm-hmm. And they'll never talk about it. And they will live their life like that, go become an adult and have identity and have life issues, because that's where they came from, and that's what they know. So I knew that there was a need that would help people. I think it was also a mixture of, I saw that as a step towards changing my life. I read 10X before I wrote that book, and 10X by Grant Cardone, one of the things he said is money follows attention. Mm. And I thought, if I want to make money, I want to get into business, I want to get into networking. How do I get myself known? How do I get out there and make a name for myself? And I saw that as also an opportunity, and it did it. When I was 16, I was paid by a lobbyist group to go out to the Capitol and lobby on behalf of foster care and DCFS. I met every senator. I gave every senator, every Louisiana representative a copy of my book, met all of them. The mentor I have now in business, I got connected with through the book. So the people it led me to meeting, and also I bought my car in cash when I was 16 or 17. I bought my car for $10,000 in cash because no one was going to buy me a car. No one was going to help me get to what I wanted in life, and I needed income. Pretty much everything I wanted in life that I saw was like an opportunity. I knew that the book was a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. And you're living at somebody's house right now. What was their perspective when you were writing the book? Did you let them know, or was it kind of something you just kept to yourself?
Oh no, everyone. I told everyone I was writing the book. Man, everyone said, "Oh, that's awesome. Sure you are." And because I wrote the book so quickly too, and people say they're writing a book, I don't waste time. People will start writing a book, and 5 years later, oh, I'm still working on that book. I've had people that tell me about the book they're still working on that originally told me about it when my book came out. But it really doesn't take that long. But when I told people, hey, I'm going to write and publish a book, there were some people that thought, wow, that's awesome. Like, keep me updated on that. And then a few months later, I'm like, hey, it's about to be published. We're doing a huge launch at my high school. And we did a launch, an event at the high school at Live Oak High. And there was probably 500-600 people there that bought copies. We did a massive book signing. We had the news stations there. And a few weeks after that, I had news stations coming to my school and doing stories on me. I was being pulled out of class and, hey, Tommy, Channel 6 is here. We're going to do a story on you, because it was just so different than anything they've seen, at that age. So a lot of people thought it was cool, like, yeah, like, let me know how that works out. And then once they actually saw the book come out and I was taking pre-orders, they're like, he actually wrote a book. He wasn't.
Yeah, he did the damn thing.
He wasn't lying about it.
What was the... How did it feel as far as like emotionally going from, you're a 15-year-old kid, you just wrote this book, to now you have news channels coming into your high school, pulling you out of class, kind of feeling like a celebrity. How did that go through with all the rest of the students in the school?
Dude, I felt like the man.
Yeah.
I walked around school feeling like the man when my book came out, honestly. I was walking through class, and I would have teachers like, hey, can you sign my book over? Dude, I had some swagger after that. That was an identity shifting moment for me, truthfully, because you have to see it. But you have to see it and believe it before it happens.
Yep.
And I saw myself when I was a freshman writing that book, and I saw myself as a winner, as someone successful, as someone that had great potential. And that book was solidification of that belief and self-identity that I had. I always had it. I always knew growing up, I'm not gonna become this. I'm going to do something different with my life, and I'm gonna go farther than any other foster kid or anyone from my circumstances typically goes. And when that book came out and I was traveling doing podcasts, I went on one podcast, and overnight it got 10,000 views, and I went out to a restaurant and people were recognizing me, and that book was solidification that, hey, you can be anyone you want to be, and you can do anything you want to do. And that was an identity shifting moment for sure as a young guy.
And you were a sophomore right then.
I was a sophomore.
Sophomore, right? So you still got 2 more years left of high school.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about, obviously, our CEO, Levi, one thing that he said that stuck with me a long time is don't let the last thing you did be the coolest thing you ever do, right? When you get to that high, right, you publish this book, you're a sophomore in high school. How do you keep riding that wave, all the way up until graduation and even to now?
So that's a great question. So after the book came out, I was still doing podcasts and I had all this momentum, but then COVID hit. So COVID hit probably about 6 months or 8 months after that. Everything shut down. So I was still doing some virtual podcast episodes.
So this book was published in 2019, 2020?
2020.
2020, okay.
February, I think it came out February 2020. And it was literally a few months after that the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
So I had every school was asking me to come speak at their school to their students, and all I had tons of stuff lined up. I was actually working with Britney Spears' mom, Lynn Spears, to go on Good Morning America and everything.
Wow.
And then COVID came and everything shut down for a year. The whole world shut down. And after that, I kind of got back into it. I would go and do like book signings or book drives, but I never really had the same momentum after that. Until probably, I'd say pretty recently with real estate. I'd say real estate is my new wave and the momentum now. So I was just doing book sign things here and there. I wanted to write another book, but I didn't really have a concept I really felt strong in. I didn't think I'd have something that really I was believing in to write about at the time. So from that, I just kind of got my real estate license a few years after that, started selling real estate. Still do occasionally speaking engagements and things like that. I always did a lot of foster advocacy work, but I'd say it's pretty recently that real estate started really doing well for me and really taking off. And this is kind of my new wave now going forward.
That's awesome, dude. Okay, so we graduate high school. When obviously talk about your mentor, right? Wyatt Graves, right?
Yeah.
talk about how he came into your life, because I know you said that you went to the Capitol and you were talking to the senators and stuff like that, and that's how you got in contact with him. What was that initial relationship like?
So I actually got in contact with Wyatt because he had a podcast, and I reached out about going on his podcast, and I had to follow up with him because he was like, yeah, man, let's do it. And then he ghosted me. And I had to follow up with him like 4 or 5 times. I was like, hey, man, are we doing this podcast? And he was like, I like your follow-up. Like, come to the office.
Yeah.
So we did the podcast, and then we just stayed friends. He had these real estate investor meetups that I would go to and I would attend. And I think that's key right there. If you're looking for a mentor, go to the right events. Go to the meetups where the mentors are at. And I would just kept going to his events. And then after high school, he said, he invited me to his house. He said, hey, man, what are you doing after high school? I said, I'm going to work at Ladder and Bloom, and I'm going to be in school. And he said, hey, you come work with me. You'll be a millionaire within 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, that's a good pitch. Mm-hmm. Even whether it's true or not, that pitch is so good. I'm going to work with this guy.
Yeah.
So I switched over. Ladder and Bloom's all commercial too. So my thought was I was going to be a big commercial guy. Kaizen, his brokerage is residential for the most part. So I switched over to Kaizen, and off the bat, it took me about 6 months to really figure it out. But once I really kind of figured out the business model, read $1 Million Real Estate Agent, got pretty good on the phone, cold calling, all those things, I was selling about 3 to 4 deals every month for about 4 months in a row. So I was the top agent at 19, 4 months back to back. I sold a $500,000 church building, leased out like $1 million warehouse. I was selling farmland, houses, all the things. And then he saw, like this young guy is doing pretty good, and he started a house flipping company. And I reached out, I said, hey, I want to be your guy for the house flipping company. And what I really meant was all the leads that need to list, let me be the listing agent, was what I was going for. Like, let me be the team agent.
Yeah.
But where
that was your vision off the initial conversation.
Yeah. But where he took that was, you will be the guy to manage all the leads across the company. So if you're going to be everything sales, and because you're going to be everything sales, we're going to put you in Sandler, this sales school. So I did Sandler Sales School, and that's really what changed my life, because I always had some natural salesmanship to me, but getting that training for a year and really fine-tune me, that was a game changer. So we're flipping 3-4 houses a month. We're wholesaling, we're flipping, all the things, and I do it with them for about a year. And then after that year comes, I think, man, I want to go back on my own. I want to go back to build my own company, build my own, be my own boss, was my thought process. Because I thought, I wanted more, and I wanted to be in a different position. I wanted more control, is what I think it really was. And I didn't realize that you will go farther with the right team. And I was thinking small-minded at the time. There's a quote that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with the team.
Yeah.
So I left, and I went on my own, and I was doing okay. I wholesaled a house in the U Club.
Okay, so you left Kaizen?
No, I was with Kaizen. I just left the house flipping business.
Okay. So you were still, because he owns Kaizen, right?
Mm-hmm. He's the broker. Yeah.
Okay. So you were just like, hey, look, I'm getting out of this portion of it. I'm just going to go to strictly just selling.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, and I did pretty well. I really focused on wholesaling my own deals. So I wholesaled a house in the U Club, burned down house, and we made $22,000 on it, me and a partner. So we were just wholesaling, selling houses our own. And then, I thought, man, I want to, I'm seeing, I can only go this far by myself. I'm seeing what they're doing. They went from flipping to they're developing. They built 150 units last year. They have a property management company. They're building subdivisions, competing with DSLD, D.R. Horton. And I'm like, man, the movement that's going on over here, I want a part of this. I'm thinking too small. Mm-hmm. So I went to him, and I'm like, hey, man, I want to get back on the team. Where's my role? And it's still pretty, this was only a few months ago that this happened, but basically the conversation was, hey, you can come back on the team. We need you to be a team player. We need you to lose this mindset that I have of being a Lone Ranger, Rambo, going to be a millionaire on my own. They were like, you need to learn to be a team role player, and you're going to be everything sales across all of our divisions, all of our companies. Because I did a good job managing the sales for the house flipping company, and he said, I want you to do that for all the companies. So it kind of just happened organically that now I'm basically the chief operator across all of our companies, all of our departments. So right now my main focus is the house flipping company, the property management company, leasing out we have 170 units So we're making sure that all of those are staying fully occupied, managing that business. The real estate brokerage, we do a lot to generate a lot of leads, and all the different companies create a lot of leads for the brokerage. So I'm managing that, making sure they're all being converted, being worked, being on an action plan. Not as much deep into this yet, but I think this is about to be the next step, is really getting into our development company. So we're building subdivisions. We just built 50 or 60 units of an apartment complex. I think we're about to buy another 50 or 60 units to develop. So now it just became the process that I'm just managing across everything. So we're still working out as far as the future and the clarity of what that looks like as far as compensation plan. And but basically my thought was, man, if I can be the best that I can be at managing these companies, I don't need to know how to build a subdivision. I don't need to learn how to go build an apartment complex, but I can get a piece of that deal if I can master my role of being the best person at managing these organizations as possible. So now that's pretty much what we're doing.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. Talk about. So I've been seeing your Instagram or your Facebook stories and stuff like that. It looks like you really got back in the gym, choosing hard and stuff like that. Was that something that recently just like clicked, or was just something that you've always wanted to do? Kind of talk about that.
Man, I'm gonna be honest. You ever get yourself in a flow state to where you are just, and I mean, when you guys started these offices and you guys were recruiting, and it sounds like you guys may even be in this now, where you just have so much momentum that you're just being carried by it. I truthfully feel as if that's where I'm at right now. I feel like recently, I don't know what it was, my mind, since I've got back with the team and I'm seeing the momentum that we have. Before I joined the team, we had, I think, 20 or 30 vacant apartment units. We were not getting many deals for the flipper wholesale company. Then the brokerage was not really converting the team leads that we were buying and paying for. And since I've stepped into the role and said, hey, we're running this thing. We're the leader. I'm the leader. We're going to make this happen. And seeing all the momentum that's happening across all the companies, I've just been more dialed than I've ever been in the last few months, really. So right now too, I'm thinking everything I think I should be doing, I'm doing. Like there's nothing I can say I think I shouldn't be doing, or I am like everyone kind of has their vice or their thing that is kind of holding them back. If I did this or if I was more consistent in this area, I would be farther along. I truly feel as if there's nothing I should be doing that I'm not right now.
Right.
Except maybe making more content, which is why we have Cade here and we're doing this and pursuing this round as well. That's the only thing I've been missing is building the brand. So that's where I was already going to the gym, but the Instagram stories and Facebook stories, I'm just putting it out there now because we want to build the brand up.
I love it. There's a dude, I've never met this guy in my life, but he's somehow, me and him are Facebook friends, Brandon Wolf or whatever.
Yeah, I love his ice bath stories.
Every day for 365 days, he posts one every single day on day number. I saw it the other day, he only had 18 days left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a brand, right? Every day I'm looking down, I'm like, damn, he did his ice plunge today.
Yeah.
Consistency.
It shows people too that you're consistent. And my thought is, there's so many realtors out there that are part-time, or their cousin got their license and, did maybe a lease last year, and now they're trying to help somebody sell their number one largest asset, their home. And I think people want to work with somebody that's consistent, that prove they have not just experience and results, but they can see, man, this guy is on top of it every single day. And I think if I was going to pick somebody to represent myself and sell my largest asset, I would want somebody that's consistent, that doesn't miss, that's on it every day. And that's what I'm showing people, that I'm on it,
Yeah, real sharp.
Grant Cardone to the max right here, because it's massive action.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving that massive action. It seems like even since you were 15 years old, it's been just a book in 3 weeks alone. That's massive action. The real estate story alone is massive action. Taking the initiative to follow up on the podcast for Wayne Groves, massive action. And then along with all that, it comes down to like what he says all the time: it's better to give 100% to the wrong thing rather than give 50% to the right thing.
That's good.
And that's what you're doing. You're giving 100% to everything that you do. So
and I want to let the other realtors know, like if we're in the same market, and hey, if you miss for a day, I'm not going to miss. If you don't get up and make your calls, that's okay. They've been called. And I want to put it out there, so for clients to see, my spirit, the people around me to see, and for the other realtors and people in the same industry to see as well.
That's amazing.
Yep. You got anything?
Yeah. No, well, it's just an amazing story in general. It's so applicable to like what we do as well, because I feel like even in my position, so I'm about to get promoted to a regional is what it's called. So like we'll be going to the corporate office, And it's to the point where we're riding that wave. We've brought in 30 people from Louisiana. And it's half, it's not really half, but we feel like the majority of the strong hitters in this company are who we've brought in.
Yeah.
So now these people are continuing to replicate the exact some successes that we've had in the company. And it's getting us to the point where now my big focuses are like on the personal development. I work out 5 days a week of CrossFit in the mornings. In November last month, I just wrote down and wrote goals of like the food that I eat. I've never dieted in my life. But I've seen the difference of like putting in good. Only like I'm never like I'm trying to live the life of the person that I would want to be led by.
That's good.
And that's where I'm coming with this wave. So this wave is coming because how are you going to lead these people if you're not the image of it? You know?
Yeah, and they say too, a company or organization is never going to surpass the leadership.
Never.
You're never going to go past your ceiling, and your character development is only as far as the rest of the company is going to go. So I think that's good. Every area that you could be dialed, you know, your diet, your food, waking up early, consistent every single day, that's going to trickle down to the rest, and you're going to have a legit company if you keep that up.
That's awesome. Only questions that I have. So you got great stories about successes. What's some of the failures that you've learned from in your time? Because I mean, you're still so young, and especially given the opportunities that you've had so far, I'm sure you've had to have some failures.
Man, I think going out on my own was not a good idea for me. I think that was a bad idea. I think that was probably a move that was led by pride, and just wanting instant gratification of wanting to see success instantly and not really seeing the value of going with the team and the right people around you.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of also put me in a selfish mindset of, oh, it's about me. Like I'm gonna go get rich. You know, I think I can do it better. I know better. I think that was probably a big distraction and 6-month waste of time on my end. I think we'd probably all be a lot farther along if I would have just had the approach of we're gonna be a company that as a team are gonna compete collectively against everybody else. And you're always going to compete better as a team. Like even in the flipping wholesaling world, if you're a lone ranger, you're competing against organizations that have an office space of 10, 15 people, and they have all their systems and processes down to a T. And if you're just a one guy in your office cold calling, you can't compete with the conglomeration that has 15 people.
Yeah, you can outwork individually.
Yeah.
But you can't outwork that team that they have.
And that was what I realized is if we want to be number one, if we want to beat Alvarez Construction, DSLD, if we want to beat the other top developers, beat the other top real estate brokerages, beat the other wholesaler flippers in the area, and all the other companies we want to buy and grow and scale, I can't do this by myself. And I don't need to learn everything by myself. I don't need to go learn how to be a developer or how to build a subdivision or even the property management. I don't even really understand a lot of the property management, but I really got the sales process down. I got the sales piece of it down to a T.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
If you can't sell, there's no point in having management.
Yeah.
And if you are a killer and you have the sales processes and the ability to manage and lead salesmen down to a T, you are now the greatest asset in any company.
100%.
And you put yourself in a position to now, I don't know how to build an apartment, but I'm so good at sales that we can lease out the apartment, we can find the land, acquire the deal so quickly, so efficiently, that because I'm involved, I can get a piece of this, and I don't have to know a single clue about how to build it. So that was my thought. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I would say that it's very applicable. I would love to have you with our company. Just as far as your mindset in general.
Yeah.
Like you're in the position you are today because of the way you think, right? And it's also the knowledge that you've put in, the books. You know, I don't think I picked up a book and read it until I was 24.
Yeah.
But now it's like my goal is like I want to read 12 books a year. Next year I'm going to up that. I want to read 25 books a year.
Yeah.
You know, I want to continue to grow. But you've put yourself in that situation to have such great things happen to you because you put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you. I'm trying.
I'm extremely impressed,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Absolutely. And what's kind of, before we wrap this up, is there like any big goals that you have? 'Cause I know you're very invested into like the foster system and stuff like that. Is there any like big things that you're going to be doing to like maybe make a change, help change?
Yeah, I've been working with I've been trying to work with the director of DCFS, the guy, his name is David. He's over foster care. I went and met with him and made some
Louisiana?
For Louisiana, all
Okay.
the way Louisiana. By the way, the last one was fired. The last person that was in the state was fired. They say she walked out, but she was fired because the level of incompetence in the state was so extreme. And there's nonprofits around the country that are designed to come help with issues that we have that won't come to Louisiana because they say it's so mismanaged, it's so poorly run. We're not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. We're staying out of Louisiana. So I went to the director of DCFS and I brought him a lot of proposals for how we can fix a lot of these issues. And what's good too is once you learn systems and processes in business, you can translate that to any organization. When you can look and say, what is every system component of your organization from the moment the kid comes into the system, first point of contact, where does he go? It's all sales, relationship, systems, processes, every organization. So I brought a bunch of solutions to David, the director, and he's not really interested in making a change. So now what I'm doing is I'm working with nonprofits and third parties that we're going to say, hey, even if the management, even if the leader over this organization has no interest in fixing anything, we're going to get this fixed. And one of the biggest issues is no foster families. There are no foster families at all. If you are a kid and you come into foster care in Louisiana, they have nowhere to put you because there's no recruitment for foster parents. There's no advocacy. There's no one, even the foster parents that leave and no longer become foster parents, that basically they try it, doesn't work, they stop. There's no campaign, no tool, no company to go back to those people and say, hey, let's try this again. We're going to work with you this time to make sure it's a better experience going forward.
How can you make that a better experience for the foster parents?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a lot of it comes down to relationship because what happens is you fall in love with a kid and then the state says, hey, by the way, we're taking the kid. The kid's going back in the crack shelter. Sorry. And that's it. There is no one to come and sit down and explain, hey, we're going to make sure this kid's taken care of. We're gonna keep our hand over this kid. We're gonna watch them going forward. There needs to be foster parent recruitment and foster parent nurturing. There needs to be people nurturing those relationships with the foster parents, making sure they have what's needed, they have the resources, whatever they need. How can we help them? Because these are the backbone of these are the families that are going to take in the kids. These are the most important part of the foster care community. And there's nothing to nurture those people or those relationships at all.
It comes down to sales.
It's sales. It's all sales. Everything you want is on the other life of a sale.
It truly is. And it's just walking for us and like walking a homeowner saying we are peace of mind for replacing your windows. You're never going to have to worry about it ever again. That's why they buy with us. It's an opportunity versus just like in the foster care world. If somebody could just walk them through and give them the vision of what potentially could come from this, then there would be a whole different outcome.
100. It's all relationships, all sales. And foster DCFS has no salesmanship whatsoever.
It's a government organization, so they don't sell. They just go through the processes.
So that's the goal. If we can recruit 400 foster families, we could change foster care in Louisiana, or at least within Livingston Parish completely.
So is there 400 foster kids in Livingston Parish that they have homes or they don't have homes, or some?
Some have homes, some don't. But now the issue is, though, that number of 400 foster kids, there's probably thousands of kids that need to be in foster care but that aren't because of the lack of homes. So you hear the 400 number as, oh, that's a lot of kids. But what foster care does is they try urgently to put you back with the family and close your case. So that number is trickled down. So there's probably thousands of kids in Livingston Parish that need a family and a placement that don't have access to it.
What would you say your solution would be to help, help incentivize maybe a foster parent or incentivize somebody to become a foster parent?
Well, it's interesting. It's all sales. It's all sales campaigns. So what that would look like is you would have a third party, a nonprofit, go, and some kind of do this to some degree, but not really well. You need to go out to all the churches, all the fundraisers, all the local meetups. You see commercials every day for, hey, save this homeless puppy in this cage. I promise you guys have never seen a commercial in Louisiana or a billboard or an ad encouraging someone to become a foster parent. You never see it. You'll see it for puppies. You'll see it for single women. Are you a single mom? Here's all the resources. Come here. But if you're an orphan, there's no campaigning for someone to come help you. So there needs to be a nonprofit, which we're working on, to really go out and campaign. Foster parent, become a foster parent, become a foster parent. Hey, click this ad, click this link if you've ever considered becoming a foster parent. The same way you market for a company, you would market to families within churches, nonprofits, groups to have interest in becoming a foster parent, and then it's just a lead conversion system. It's, hey, let's go schedule a meeting with them. Let's get them to this class. Let's basically pitch them the proposal on why they should become a foster parent, and we are going to convert that lead down the pipeline. It's the same thing as a company. The issue is that the people that are involved in this aren't business people. They're not salesmen are not getting involved in foster kids, but that's truthfully what it needs.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Have you ever heard of Plan International?
I don't think so.
No, I had a door-to-door person come by, and they showed me the front and back of this little laminated piece of paper, but it was a charity. So it's not necessarily like an organization that's like working for foster kids, but it's a charity that they're collecting money and donations, annual donations to send overseas to girls or girls who get potentially sex trafficked and then get pulled out of it. It's trying to put them in schools and put them in safe places and stuff like that. The girl went through the whole spiel with it. But like I think about it, imagine if it wasn't a charitable thing asking for donations. Imagine if somebody went door to door with that kind of stuff saying, hey, we're looking for people who could potentially, you go to a good neighborhood. You go to a neighborhood that's like a little bit higher income and you can tell they take care. You can go door to door and just say, hey, we're looking for people who would be open-minded to take somebody in.
Yeah.
100%.
But it's just getting it's you have to put a spotlight on it, because if no spotlight's there, then nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
And that's the thing. There is no light. There's no advocates.
Yeah.
There's no one going out. And the interesting thing is most people probably would consider having a foster kid,
100%.
sending a family.
My mom, if you knocked on my mom's door, my mom has never said no to somebody coming in her house.
Yeah.
And she would take them in with open arms tomorrow, and it would give her purpose.
We just need to get somebody in front of her.
That's it.
Yep.
There's just, if you don't ask, you will not receive. You know, so you got to put it out there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's the goal. That's the focus going forward. I think if we can fix the foster parent crisis, you would fix the majority of all the problems in foster care.
Bro, you got a hell of a story, man. Great
you.
story. Well kept. You know what I mean? Very professional. Any last words you would want to say?
Man, I think all of this, you can have all the money in the world, but the Bible says, what is it to gain the world and lose your soul? I think all this is great. Money's great, but ultimately the most important thing is honoring Jesus Christ. And I think that's what I'd want to go out as and, really encourage everybody to do. Business is great. Money's great. Sales is great. But your life has really only changed. And I can say with my life, I was always motivated. I was always a motivated dude. But I don't think I was internally changed until I really accepted God and followed God. So I'd want to encourage the audience to do that as well.
Yeah,
Amen.
Absolutely. Amen. One thing I do want to say, whenever you do get that nonprofit, give me and Garrett a call. We might be interested in helping you out. For sure.
Well, I appreciate that.
So,
That'd be awesome. I mean, you guys are masters. Y'all are the masters at door to door. There'd nobody be better to talk to than you guys.
Yeah, we do it. Door to door sales.
Because as we move up, and I mean, it's a great thing because it's not as much time that's going into the training and the field work for things. It's more ops. We're getting into the systems. We're getting into the planning for our company. So we do have more time on the side. So even something like that, I'd love to just be a part of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That sounds awesome. I'd love to have you guys involved. So.
Yeah, we would love to be involved. Well, hey, bro, we appreciate you coming on. Where can they find you?
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of the things. Just look up Tommy Sigman and
Tommy
I'll
Sigman.
be there.
Heck yeah. Reach out to Tommy Sigman, and then the name of the book.
The book is The Greatest Advantage.
The Greatest Advantage. Okay, and you can find that on Amazon.
Yeah, if you look up The Greatest Advantage, there's Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Walmart.
Okay.
It's on all the platforms. So.
Excellent, bro. Well, hey, we appreciate you coming on. Y'all make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below, and also read Tommy's book. I'm gonna buy it. So
yeah,
appreciate you coming on, and peace out.
Thanks.